Hello, everyone. Good morning, and thank you for joining. Uh, Good to see some familiar faces here. So let me start this session because we have 1 hour, and I don't want to waste. I don't want to spend time on greetings. So the topic that we are going to start today, and this is going to continue for at least 12 sessions, is AI Fluency for product builders. And part of the reason I picked this topic is because there's a lot of noise when it comes to building products. Like every month, every week, in fact, now you keep hearing about new things. You might have heard about Maltbook, OpenClaw, of course, like Opus 4.6, which is a real thing. And then there is also like Karpathy just launched something which automatically does ML research on your behalf and all. And the question that most of the product builders have on their top of their mind is, if I'm reading about all these things throughout my week, what am I going to do? What am I going to build? Right? Where am I going to take my time to build? Because the reality is that you have a full-time job. And of course, like you have to learn it, you have to apply it, and all of that takes time. Right? So the idea was to create a curated list of things that every product manager should know. And by extension, anybody who is interested in product management should know, right? This is what these 12 hours or 12 sessions are all about. Before we start, I think just I would try to sort of put some ground rules because this is a fairly large group. In terms of questions, you can always put it in chat. At the end of the session, I take, in fact, more time to answer the questions. Normally, I don't invite people to speak, but when I'm taking a question, if the person who has asked a question has a follow-up question, they can open their mic and they can speak, right? So with those ground rules, let's start AI Fluency for product builders. Today, we are going to keep it basic because I don't know where everybody is. So I'm going to start with very simple stuff. So first is like, what is AI Fluency versus AI product management? That is one question people keep asking me. In fact, I run a course on AI product management. So a lot of people messaged me saying, Deepak, this course is starting that you're doing for free. This is a paid program. I think, shouldn't I just do the free one? And I'm like, yeah, please do. Because that way you can build some confidence and you can come for the paid program. But the matter of the fact is, people don't understand the difference between AI fluency and AI product management. The second is assessing your AI fluency. And this is where we have built a tool which will help you assess your AI fluency. And the third is spec-driven development. Now, this is the important part in this session because I want everyone to take something from this session. So spec-driven development is something that we have seen flourishing in last 6 months, not 6 months, in fact, last 3 months. I think 19th December or some 21st December is when Opus 4.6 launched. And after that, I believe spec-driven development has become a real thing. We'll talk about it, what it is, and how PM should be doing spec-driven development. But first thing first, AI fluency versus AI product management. So if I had to ask this group, what is the difference between AI fluency and AI product management? Please put it in chat in the best way possible. How can you explain AI fluency versus AI product management? I'll wait for a minute and then I will start covering it. So I think we have enough data points. And we can see some confusion, right? So fluency traditionally has been a term which is used to describe whether you know something or not, whether you know terms related to a particular area or not. For example, tech simplified makes you fluent in tech. And it does not make you fluent in tech by asking you to write code, but it makes you fluent in tech in the sense that you can make sense of technical systems, you can make sense of technical terms. But on the other end of the spectrum, you'll also see fluency being used for expertise. So this person is fluent in English. What it means is this person speaks English very, very well, right? Now, the thing is, AI fluency is somewhere in between. And that's the part I want to make clear first, right? So fluency is all about using AI tools, not just knowing about AI, not just knowing about AI terms and sort of what can AI do, what cannot AI do. It is about using AI tools to its maximum extent so that you can be very, very productive at your job. Because AI for the first time bridges the gap between knowledge and application, right? AI product management is all about building AI products and deploying them to production. So AI product management is a very, very, very high bar. And if you're looking for some examples, AI fluency is the baseline that every PM needs, regardless of domain, industry, or product type. For example, you need to understand how to write very, very effective prompts. And you should not be, I think both claims are actually baseless. The first claim that prompt engineering, nothing but Google search. People learned how to do Google search, they will learn how to do prompt engineering. Actually, that's a baseless claim because prompt engineering is way more richer than Google search. And do you know like why prompt engineering is way more richer than Google search? Because Google search, we used to have this term in when we were building like Flipkart voice search. And basically number of terms that you include in a search phrase. So if you look at the search patterns, most people were searching, let's say, 6 to 10 words in a search query in Google. But when AI came, people start crafting queries of 60 to 100 words initially. And now people are even like, especially PMs, they are using prompts anywhere between 600 to 1,000 words also. So how you write 6 terms actually does not matter much because that is where like Google search is like, okay, you just have to give me keywords and I'll give you the most relevant websites. But how you write 600 words actually matters a lot. And that is why like prompt engineering is way, way, way different than, let's say, just like plain Google search, especially for knowledge workers like PMs and founders. The second important thing is output evaluation. Now, the thing is, when it comes to AI, when it comes to Google search, you have a list of websites. You could look at the website. Some of these websites you already know. If you don't know these websites, you can go through the entire website. You can build some sense of who the person is who is writing this blog post, or who this company is who is claiming this. You can look at their funding history. You can look at their revenues. You can look at their employees. You have a lot of data points when it comes to Google search to make sense of a particular website, whether this particular website is something that you should trust or not. But when it comes to AI, that actually like fails, because in AI, you have like Claude writing something for you. Whether the output that you got here is actually legitimate or not is something that you don't know. And even if it's legitimate, how legitimate is it? I'm not even talking about hallucinations. I'm talking about judgment. So something can be anything which is subjective. Hallucinations can happen, but hallucinations are not a problem because hallucinations can be figured out by good PMs easily. The problem is the difference between a suboptimal output and an optimal output needs to be done, right? So output evaluation, that is why it matters tons as compared to, let's say, the previous era for previous knowledge tool for PMs, which is Google search. And the third thing is accelerating PM work. Even if you know effective prompt engineering, output evaluation, how do you create workflows so that your output can be really, really good? Like rather than saying, give me a research about this area, how can you write this prompt so that you can use AI for research synthesis to the maximum extent? How can you use it for PRD drafting? How can you use it for competitive analysis? How can you use it for user interview analysis? And my point is, you are already using it. It's just that most people are using it in a very, very lazy manner. And that lazy versus like using it in an excellent manner is going to be the competitive advantage. We PMs understand competitive advantage more than others, right? In a subjective domain like PM, we tend to find competitive advantage for our products because any advantage that we can get can give us more money, more rewards, and everything. If you're not applying the same to your career, if you're not applying the same to the way you are doing your work, right, it is going to be a problem in the career. Like it is going to sort of not put you in the top 1% or top 10% of the PMs. So how you use workflows to accelerate PM work also matters, right? And this is like what AI fluency is all about. How to talk to AI, which is prompt engineering. How to know a bad output versus a good output, which is output evaluation. And I'm putting the bar objectively, right? How to know does cannot be, I feel this is better. No, objectively, can you determine whether the output is better or not, even if it's a subjective answer? And the third is how do you create your workflows so that you can do better research, you can do PRD, better PRDs, you can do better competitive analysis and all that. And this entire 12 sessions are going to be focusing on these three things. Because no matter where you are as a PM, no matter which domain, no matter which industry, no matter what product you're working on, right? If you are building product, I believe that you need these skills as table stakes. This is as basic as like I started my career with consulting. In consulting, we were told two things. One, like you have to be extremely fast at Microsoft Excel. We literally, like without looking at keyboard, just using shortcuts, we could use Excel after 7 days of training. That was the bar they set for us. Like the fluency in Excel has to be at an extent that you can crunch data 10x faster than a normal person who is getting this Excel sheet. Okay. So you learn all the shortcuts. And this should be in your brain so that, like just by a simple shortcut, you can create a pivot. Just by a simple shortcut, you can do VLOOKUPs and all that, right? You don't need to touch your mouse. And without touching mouse, you have to use Excel, right? So the thing is that fluency is very, very important for consulting. And second was basically like you have to build extremely good decks. So the point, those were the table stakes, and I'm saying these are the table stakes for PMs in this era because the tools of the trade have changed and the landscape has changed. Now, AI product management, I won't spend that much time because the topic is not AI product management, but a very simple example I can give you, which will help you understand like what's the difference between fluency and product management. So, for example, a AI PM who is building search pricing for Uber or search for Amazon will go after these things. One is they will decide what sort of models to work with. And this is not like Opus 4.6 versus 4.5. This is about logistic regression versus linear regression versus, SVMs versus decision trees versus like KNNs versus generative AI models that you folks know of. Open source versus closed source models. All of these decisions come in the model selection phase. And you have to select a model for a specific product for your company, which can give you advantage. The criteria for this is going to be tokenomics, like what is the cost of tokens that you're going to incur, total cost of ownership, functional requirements, non-functional requirements like latency and all. All of this comes into picture in just like model selection, one single part. Not to mention, you have to understand these deeply. You have to understand the limitations of transformers. You have to understand how transformers work. You have to understand why models hallucinate in some domains more than others. So model selections, context engineering, which is how do you design experiments? And it is experiments, by the way, when it comes to AI. When it came to writing system design chapters of Tech Simplified, it was, I would say it was too easy for me as compared to what context engineering requires, because this was a very deterministic world. Like you knew that if the system needs scaling, there are only 3 or 4 ways to scale the system. There is horizontal scaling, there is vertical scaling, there is basically load balancers and all that. And you could apply all those things across different system design. When it comes to AI, it is all about experiments because it's probabilistic model of the world. You don't know whether adding RAG will lead to more better output or worse output. Not to mention your non-functional requirements actually suffer and all that. If you're not getting some part of AI product management, that's totally fine, because like I said, it's a very different role in itself. Like AI product manager is a very different role in itself, and the language and the depth that is needed for AI product management is very different as compared to becoming AI fluent. And then, of course, there is AI product sense and strategy, where you understand design patterns of AI products, not like traditional products. And you'll see, once you start observing, you'll realize that even the landing pages of AI products tend to be very different as compared to traditional products. The features are put together very differently. Human in the loop, trust, safety, all these things become very, very important, which were not the case in case of traditional products. So AI product management is this, right? Like all in all, like if you're looking for an exhaustive list, I'll add this slide here also, but it's almost like you have to master traditional ML, you have to master generative AI, you have to master AI prototyping, AI product sense, AI strategy, and finally, what does a production ready agentic AI product looks like, and actually building it end to end. Because if you don't build it, unlike like previous era where you could just read about system design and you are good, you don't have to write code. AI product management requires you to vibe code, if not write code. So how do you build a production ready product to become a good AI product manager? So this is your AI product management versus AI fluency. And AI fluency is table stakes for product builders. So the next question becomes, how do we assess our AI fluency? And the good news is we have done some work around it, which will help you. So I built this end to end like in a day. I think it took me 6 hours to build this entire thing without help of a developer or anything. And this is basically a very simple landing page, right? How AI ready are you as a PM? And this is this program page that you're attending, AI Fluency for Product Builders, right? There's this curriculum and all that you can also go into, but back to the assessment. I believe that at the beginning of this cohort, all of you should be taking this assessment. Already, like I think 250 odd PMs have already taken this. We are also going to add some leaderboard maybe this week or next week. So you'll also get to know where you are as compared to your peers. But the way it works is basically you go here, it gives you a verification code. And I'll briefly explain what different questions mean so that you can understand what AI fluency means also. Just give me a moment to pull the code. So I already have a AI fluency profile, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to ask to retake it. So you start by selecting your level. If you are a PM, SPM, APM, you are an individual contributor PM. If you are a GPM, you already manage a team of PMs. GPM or director, you are a PM manager, or you can be a VP or CPO. Let me take PM manager. So let me explain you what these things mean, right? So the first skill is you can write system prompts that beat generic templates. And there are different levels of this. First of all, like you can explain what a system prompt is and recite the best practices for system prompt. And this is what you read on LinkedIn. Like, this tell it the persona, tell it the role, the 80-20 of prompt engineering, which is like 20% of things that work 80% of times. This is what most people have read if you have been reading like LinkedIn posts or newsletters. The second is you have written a system prompt with the guidance of a manager or a peer or LLM. You have literally sat down and you have written a 600 words or 500 words long system prompt. And you got a much better output as compared to what you were getting earlier by just writing 10 lines on how to do user research or whatever this task was. The third level is you write system prompts on your own for your own work. And this has become a practice. You know how to test variations of system prompt. You know how to finalize this system prompts work better than others and all that. You have at least 5 system prompts that you use that you have written yourself, by the way. You have not ported it from some newsletter or some places. You have written it yourself. with the help of AI, of course, you can do that. But you have written 5+ system prompts that actually work for you. Level 4 is you write prompts that work across different models and context. You know what the difference between a chat GPT system prompt is and Claude system prompt is. Because believe me when I say that, both work differently. The same system prompt for Claude will not work for chat GPT because they are trained differently, right? So you do this, you work across models, you know which model to pick for what. For example, chat GPT is really good at copywriting. You know that. And finally, you are leading this into your organization. That's level 5, which is expected at a VP level. So if you're thinking, you Deepak, like if I'm a APM, where should I be? Everybody should be at level 3 at least across this sort of assessment. Level 4 is when you want to be a little better. And this can be ICPM also, because a lot of GPMs are also becoming ICPM in the AI era. And then finally, level 5 is when you are making some org transformation, right? So this is basically the sense around this thing. I'll quickly, like, I'll not go into detail for all the levels for everything because it will take too much time. I want to spend more time on, how to do stuff. But yeah, building custom agents for specific workflow, you should know. Evaluating LLM output quality rigorously. And this is where we saw, like, of those 250 PMs who took, most of them were at level 1 or level 2. Right? So this is a major gap in the industry, and we are going to focus on this. Making AI reliable. Again, something which is a major gap in industry. AI prototyping is something people have gotten comfortable with. So most people are at level 3. Vibe coding is different than AI prototyping, again. And there are people who are at level 2, level 1 only. Building systems to help you with judgment and not hurt it. And this is a case study, specific MIT case study that we'll cover in these sessions, which will show you how AI hurts judgment and how AI actually reduces your cognitive sort of powers. And in-depth knowledge of AI tools relevant for PMs, again, something that we'll cover. So the good thing is all of these things we are going to cover in these sessions. And by the end of the 12th session, my sense is all of you will become really, really good with using AI for your job. Okay, let's go back. So you will anyway receive an email with the deck. But I'm just sharing the link when you want to take it and you want to save it, right? Now, the thing is, the question becomes, okay, we understand AI fluency, we understand AI product management. So what do we do, right? That's the elephant in the room. And I would say that this is a very simple mental model you can take, which is the fastest way to build AI fluency is to work inside an AI ecosystem every day. We just have to figure out what is that AI ecosystem in which we want to work in, right? And which brings us to the core of this session, which is spec-driven development. Now, spec-driven development it's not that we have not done spec-driven development. We have always written PRDs, which got converted into user stories, which got converted into, estimates, which got converted into sprints. The thing is, AI collapses this entire development model and makes spec the core bottleneck of product development. And it means that if you can write a good spec, which has user stories, requirements, how should it behave, constraints, acceptance criteria, features, you can just take that to Cursor, Claude Code, or any of the coding tools, and they will be able to give you a full-fledged functional website or an app, right? And this was never possible in the history because the bottleneck was always developers. Bottleneck was always writing code and testing it and then deploying it. But that has changed because AI has the strongest PMF when it comes to coding. Coding models are really, really good at doing the developer work. And which is where the bottleneck has become specs. And this also helps you answer a question, a fundamental question that people ask, which is like, given the progress that AI is making, what happens to PMs? I would say, like, this is the core job of PM. If you're a really good PM, or even if you're a really good engineer, I have seen like some of the best engineers I've worked with, they are some of the best PMs I know, even if their formal title is not product management, right? So if you can write a really good spec, and if you can really get the insight from the market that this is very, very valuable for the company or for the market, you will have a lot of value in this era of AI product development, right? So spec becomes the key for development, and this is why this term is getting more and more popular, which is spec-driven development. Now, the tools for spec-driven development, you need 3 tools. And the good thing is, all the leading AI models understand it, especially Claude understands it really, really well, right? So if you look at Claude ecosystem, Claude has 3 tools. First is Claude Chat. And Claude Chat is nothing but this thing. Good morning, Deepa. How can I help you? I can have a model selection and all that. Claude Chat is simply this. Now, Claude Chat is a really good thinking partner, but it's at the same time, it's not a replacement for thinking. For example, if you are using Claude to write PRDs, I say, like, please stop doing that. Like, use it to refine PRDs, use it to, give it the outline and let it like fill in the blanks, find the gaps. But please don't use it as a replacement for your thinking. Please don't use it to start writing mails, because a very simple litmus test is, if 80% of your job today is done by AI, there is a good chance that you are going to get displaced by AI. And it is not about the role, by the way. I'm not saying 80% of PM can be done by AI. No, no, no. If 80% of your work, if you are putting everything into AI, getting the output and sending it to people, if you're just working as a WhatsApp group, or sort of you're working as a WhatsApp for the org, taking message from Claude and porting it somewhere else, there's a very good chance that you'll get displaced by AI. Because the moment like people realize that all of what you have done and all the output, the quality of your output is matched by AI, which it is, right? Because you're putting it in Claude and you're taking it out and you're giving it back to the people. If that is happening 80% of time for your job, I believe that you need to do a very good introspection, because I do believe that you have talent. That's the reason you have made in such a like highly coveted role in such a highly competitive country that we have, right? So you have talent, but the thing is, if you're not aligned with what is happening in the ecosystem, if you don't invest your time in making sure that you are picking new skills, or you are actually spend time at places where AI lacks thinking, or AI lacks that knowledge, if you're not doing, more user research, for example, if you're not doing more uh, vibe coding, like these are the new skills that people are picking. If you're not picking those, there is a good chance that AI will replace whatever you're doing, because it's already replacing, right? It's just that people don't know. So thinking partner, but not a replacement for thinking. The second is Cowork. So Claude Cowork is not available here in the browser. If you want Claude Cowork, you'll have to download the Claude app, right? And this is kind of a intern to accomplish tasks on your files. You can give it some folder access, which has all the user research documents, and you can ask it to synthesize, go through every one of them, synthesize it. One of the things I have realized with Claude Cowork is it does hallucinate quite a lot. So please, please, please be very, very careful when you are starting with any of these tools. Right? Chat, I think you are comfortable with, but Cowork, please be very, very careful when you are using this for your work. Make sure that you are verifying and understanding. The learning curve is going to be there, right? But once you have learned where it fails and where it works, I think it's going to be magic for you. The third is Claude Code. Again, something which started as a CLI, and it's fine if you don't understand terminals, because I did, by the way. It was a very scary thing for me, because I'm not a computer science student. I've not been a coder and all that. But the good thing with Claude Code is it comes into your desktop app, and you can just go to that tab. You can just take some code base from GitHub and you can start working on it. Or you can start building something and push it to GitHub. It can happen either way. We'll show how to do it in this session only. But the thing is, it's a really good build tool. And it started as a CLI, which is a command line interface tool. But over time, they realized that if they have to cater to the larger builder audience, they have to make it more accepting to people who are not comfortable with command line interfaces. And that is why it's a terrific tool for you. Uh, the same ecosystem exists in ChatGPT also. You have ChatGPT, you have like a Cowork, you have projects there, you have Cowork alternatives there, and you also have Codex, which is a Claude code. So no matter whether you are in, let's say, ChatGPT ecosystem or you are in Claude ecosystem, and my sense is most of you are in these two because these two are the leading models for knowledge workers. You can have a parallel and you can say that I'll use Claude Chat for this thinking partner, Cowork for getting things done, and Claude Code for building things. So that's the ecosystem that we have. Gemini also has all three. So Gemini also, like Gemini has a coding model, Gemini has like Gemini Chat and all that. So you can use that if your workplace has Gemini as a partner. Uh, as a personal project, this is where I would push you a little bit, and not because I I have any vested interest in Claude, but personally I have like Gemini paid account, I have ChatGPT paid account, I have our workspace is actually like pmcurve workspace is on Gemini, sort of Google ecosystem. I have Claude like pro plan. In fact, now it's even $200 plan I have upgraded to. And then I have ChatGPT. I've tried all tools, and my tool of choice is always Claude because the harness for Claude, and harness is basically the software that is operating the models. Like it's almost like, think of it like you build an orchestrator on top of models, and you'll use this. You'll hear this term again and again, and it feels daunting, but it's not. Harness is nothing but the piece of software that is orchestrating your models. Okay, now like take the output, look at the output, ask this model to evaluate the output, then go back and all that, right? So Claude has the best like guardrails, best output that I have seen across for knowledge workers. And that's also the reason Claude is 10x more expensive. And still like it is able to get the major share of coding market, right? And by extension, it is able to get the major share of enterprise AI enterprise market, right? And which is where I say, even if you have like other tools, definitely give Claude a try, because if you like it, uh, I think it's almost like the iPhone, which is very, very expensive. But once you get into Apple ecosystem, it's hard to go back. Yeah. So this is basically the Claude ecosystem for PMs, and you can find parallels for other tools also. Right. Let me talk about chat. Right. So when you're using chat, most people are using chat like this. This is the chat, right? You just say, tell me about, and then it will just give you everything. Or you say, help me write PRD and all that. Just a moment.
Usual places सगळ्यात शिकलेल्या जिथे असते usually.
Yeah. Sorry for that. Okay. So chat, I would say like you go and see, you will get this deck. So please go and do your work. Please don't just listen to me. Go and understand how cloud memory works. Go and understand how reasoning models work. For example, if you go to this one, you should be able to know what's the difference between extended thinking and non-extended. This is the reasoning model. And you can ask Claude all these things. You can just literally like screenshot this slide and ask Claude to explain you everything on how do I use all of these things. I can literally paste this in a chat model and say, help me master all of this by letting me use them, provide me use cases, I'm a PM at this and this. And it will give you all that step by step. So the beauty of this AI is you can learn anything that you want to learn. And we are only limited by our imagination and our time, of course. And which is why like we need to be focused because there is a lot of noise. So time and imagination. The second thing is, so you'll go after like agent skills. So agent skill is also something that we'll cover extensively in these sessions. But broadly, like this is something that think of it like a template that you can bring into any chat, right? And the benefit of templates is it allows you to constrain the output in certain ways. For example, you write PRD in certain ways. So you can build a skill around PRD for your org, not like porting it from newsletter or something else. You can literally build a skill for the PRD that gets written, the format and everything, all the guardrails that gets written in your org. And anytime you're writing a PRD, Claude will automatically bring this skill and it will use it to write PRD in that fashion, right? Then there is Claude artifacts or custom GPTs, and you can again learn about that. Again, very briefly covering this, and let's graduate and save like at least 15 minutes for doing something. Co-work is more about delegating AI. So here you can upload a spreadsheet, PRD. You can also upload a folder of user interviews, give it access to folder of user interviews. And it can go through everything and it can give you whatever you want from these files, right? It can also execute workflows. So if you look at the co-work interface, you will see that it creates a list of items just like humans do. And then it will execute that one by one. So you can see whether the planning is wrong, whether the execution was wrong and all that. And you can also refine that over time. So co-work is that, right? For example, a very simple example of co-work could be like you categorize 1,000 support entries and you take all these support entries, put it in an Excel file and you ask it to categorize it. You might be thinking, but Deepak, can't I do it with chat interface only? You can, but what happens is co-work makes it very, very traceable because what it does is it literally shares the plan. And when it shares the plan, you can see, okay, step one, this is doing this, step two, doing this, step three, doing this, and all that. And you can stop it in the planning process and say, please do it like this. It's the same way you work with your interns, right? You don't give them a single prompt and let them do things, right? So chat is not your intern. Co-work is your intern, which plans. It can even ask, you can look at the plan, you can verify the plan, and you can sort of ask it to keep working on it. Another good thing is it can be 100,000 support entries also, and it will be able to do that. So that's a benefit. It's scalable. Chat is not scalable, right? Chat has some limitation. Chat also doesn't have traceability. Co-work has traceability, so you can go and see where things went wrong and you can correct it. The third is Claude Code. Claude Code is all about building prototypes. You have used Lovable. Claude Code is an alternative to that, but much beyond that, right? It can let you work on a code base of your own company also. You can take one internal project, you want to add some filter, the engineering does not have time to add that filter. You can literally add that filter using Claude Code, and you can merge it into your like at least request for this code merge or code review. And the developer will review it, they will merge it, and then you have a filter. So Claude Code is lovable plus because it allows you to work on the existing code base seamlessly. Right. The third thing that I'm using Claude Code for is anytime I have an idea, I can just go and I can build a very, very simple POC very quickly. And by doing that, I know whether it is feasible or not. And feasibility does not have everything to do with whether it's technically feasible or not. It also has to do with whether it is feasible in the tech stack that you have or not. For example, Python does few things very, very fast, does not do other things very, very fast. So depending on the tech stack that your company has, feasibility might or might not be possible. And even if feasibility is possible, it might require a lot of work. So you can do a lot of estimations. You remember we used to have a lot of fight over estimations with engineering, and for the right reasons, because we wanted to push things quickly. They wanted to make sure that things are built in a reliable way. So it was always this tension. The good thing is you can understand engineering way better as compared to, at least 10 times better as compared to 3 years back. You can estimate, you can validate feasibility, you can do all of these things using Claude Code. Just one word of caution there, which is please don't treat this as a source of truth. Your source of truth still has to be your engineering counterpart or engineering team, because Claude code also hallucinates. And unless you use it extensively, you would not know. You might feel that, Claude code is saying 10 days. Why are you telling me 20 days? No. If they are telling 20 days, please treat that as a source of truth. Don't treat Claude as a source of truth. Okay. But it gets you going, right? And it's an amazing thing. Now, for the last section, for spec-driven development, what I want you to be comfortable with it, three things, right? The first is GitHub, the second is command line interface, and the third is Cloud Code or Cloud ecosystem. My sense is Cloud ecosystem is something that you folks would be fine with, but I'll just show you briefly like how to do it. So let's start with the trickiest piece, GitHub. And before you set up GitHub, you have to understand why GitHub is important. So this is something I wrote in Tech Simplified also. The best way to explain simplification of this is VCS, version control system. So we used to have like when we were building presentations or you do work on any file, you go to Google sort of docs, you'll see versioning that keeps happening on Google. And this versioning allows you to revert back to some other version that you had created, because maybe you didn't like this particular version that you arrived at. You like the previous version, so you can always revert back to it. When it comes to code, this is always useful, because suppose you wrote code and you were going to push it to production, but you realized that this is not working. Now, if this is not working, how are you going to revert it? You have to revert it on, you can revert it only if you have saved something, some version previously. Or a second case could be like you have 3 different features going in, but you clubbed all of them and created a singular version. 2 of the features are working, 1 of the feature is not working. Now you are in a soup because you have to roll back all 3 features. What you could have done is basically add 1 feature, create another version, add another feature, create another version, add another feature, create another version. This way, you could keep the versions where the code was working for the 2 features, and you could discard the one where the code was not working. Right? And I'm saying this is a very crude way of explaining it. Actual thing is much more intelligent. Like there is like the merge will not happen. It will not. You could always maintain a production branch, a testing branch, and a development branch. And from development to testing, it goes, but from testing to production, it never goes if it is not good enough, right? So simplifying it, like I'm trying to oversimplify it to some extent, but the idea is if you know that what part of your code works and what part of your code does not work, you want to keep them separate by creating different versions. And this versioning will help you move faster in development. And that is why GitHub came into picture, or any version control systems came into picture, right? So every change can be tracked and attributed. You can undo anything with a single command. You can share and collaborate with your team. Your code lives safely in the cloud, not just locally, so you don't lose it if your computer shuts down. And it is also free for personal and small team use. So the way to do it is go to GitHub, sign up for GitHub. When you're signing up, you can sign up using Google, or you can sign up using username and password, and then you can arrive at, let's say, the plain screen. Once you have arrived at plain screen, I would suggest you to learn few things, right? The first is installing Git on your machine. Now, this is important so that you can bring the projects on your system from GitHub. So for example, this is a project I built, product skills, right? Now in the product skills, there is something called README file. Every project will have a README file, most of the projects. And README tells you what this project is all about. And in this particular case, this is about Cloud Code and AI agents. Okay. This could have been better, but okay. And then there is license. This is MIT license. You don't need to worry about license. If you are interested, just go and ask Claude what it is. And then this is the folder that I've created where there is a market research skill. And what does it have? It has this skill, which is conduct structured market research and competitive analysis for product decision, use when the user asks to research a market. So when do you use this skill, right? Produces actionable research briefs, and what does it do? And then this is the entirety of the prompt that you can fetch and you can use wherever you are doing a market research, right? So mode 1 is market sizing, mode 2 is competitive landscape, mode 3 is customer and segment analysis, mode 4 is pricing research, mode 5 is opportunity assessment, and then there are other things, right? Data sources are also tiered. Like this is basically telling Claude on which data sources to look at. Company level data, government data, versus let's say industry reports, financial data is tier 2, and community intelligence like Reddit. Please don't take something from Reddit and put it in your market research, right? So this is tier 3. And you can even remove this, right? You can literally go edit this file and you can say, please only use tier 1 and tier 2 data and remove tier 3 entirely. So the beauty of this is the way you want to conduct market research can be very, very different as compared to somebody else conducting market research. And my point is, why would you not do that? Why would you take somebody else's template and try to force fit it into your company? Because your company, your job is different. Your domain is different. Maybe in your domain, some other sources of data are more important. Or you have some custom sources of data you want to use. Like you have access to, let's say, all these research articles, or you have access to some custom intelligence like Tegas market research portal or something else. Why won't you use that? So the idea is, please build your own AI Copilot, right? Please build your own set of skills, and we'll go deeper into it. Please don't. I just wanted to show you like how a GitHub project looks like. It's not a foreign thing. It's something that you'll intuitively understand once you get into it. And we'll also go into like how the code bases look. This is a very simple like skill file for AI agents, but we'll also get into like how the code bases look, right? Let's start here. Now, the thing is, if you go here, there are a few other things that you should know. For example, there are these different branches. This is just the main branch. Most of the things happen in main branch for GitHub files. So you don't have to worry much about this. If you want to download this, there are multiple ways to do it. One is you can directly download the GIF file, and then you can upload it in Claude Code and start working on it, right? You can download GitHub desktop app and you can open it there, or you can use GitHub CLI, command line interface. So you copy this, right? You go here. Let me just open the terminal. And let me share it so that I just want to run one command in terminal so that you also realize it's not that fancy as people. So you just open terminal. This is for Mac, something like this. I just copied CLI sort of command, but this is not found. Now this is interesting because what I can do is, this could be a login issue. I'll take this entire thing and I'll paste. This is literally how I learned, right? I'll take it here. So CLI is, let me help you clone it using git instead, right? So CLI isn't installed in this environment.
We are not able to see your screen change.
Oh, got it. Thank you. So the thing is, like I told you, like Claude, you should not assume that it's that intelligent. So it says that let me clone it using Git instead, and it cloned it here using code. But what I want to do is, I want to clone it on my Mac computer. So what happened just now? I told it, it's not working, and what it did is basically I have cloned it in the chat. You can now use this skill and all this. So I want to clone it on my computer. To clone this repo on your Mac, open terminal and run this. It says this. I'm copying this. I'm again going here. This is literally me teaching how to fish, right? So the thing is, I've already cloned this, which is why this happened. This product path already exists. It's already on my system. So I have to delete it. I have to clone it again. But the point is, if this didn't exist, it will just clone it. And it will become a folder on my computer. Once it becomes a folder on my computer, I just have to go to Claude Code, and let me show you that also. I just have to go on Claude Code. Are you there with me so far? Step one, you understood what GitHub is. You created an account. Step two, you took that URL and you said, Claude, I want to clone this on my computer. Help me do this. And it literally helped you do that. Step three, now you are going to use this. You're going to modify this skill. Okay. Just a moment. So what I can do is I can go into let me go directly to that folder. I think I have to set up some other Claude account for teaching part. So what I did is I went there and I went to that folder. I just added that folder here, right? So Deepak Singh, product skills, right? And what I'm going to do now is help me understand. Help me on this. The good thing is that there are few things that you'll see, which is really good in Claude. It asks a lot of permissions. So there is ask permissions where it will ask permission for everything that you do. There is auto accept edits, which is the default mode in which I work. There is plan mode where it will just create a plan and it will not do anything. And then there is a God mode, which is bypass permissions, do everything that you want to do, right? And this will explain you. This has this thing. Which file would you like me to explain? And I'm like, explain the entire thing. I'm just being very lazy here, right? Ideally, I would go here. But the good thing is I can just like keep chatting here, keep modifying this file, and finally I can say, just create like modify this folder for me, and then I can sync it back to my own GitHub, right? Right. And I like to read this, by the way. I like to see where it goes. This is not something which is visible, but I would urge you to read this because this will help you understand how this works. Now this is skill, this is this, this is this. I want to only keep tier 1 sources for source map. So this source map had tier 1, tier 4, tier 2, tier 3, tier 4. I'm saying I just want to make this change. It will make this change on my local folder. See, any change this is making, this is going into my local folder. Now, once it is in my local folder, I can then pull it into my GitHub. And we'll talk about how to pull it into GitHub in the next session. But it just removed it. Now I just have to go and I have to see, I'll show you, I have to see if it removed or not. So done, remove tier 2 to 4. Hey, this is what it did. So this is in text, it might feel like, Deepak, I can go and edit. But the idea to pick text is so that you can understand. Eventually, you'll go into code and you'll see me actually asking, show me the piece of code which implements this logic. And then I will say, like, explain this logic to me. And then I'll ask you to change the logic, re-explain the logic, because that's the way I'll be able to fix bugs and make changes in the production database. So the bar is, I would say this bar should be like, you have to figure out a workflow without being a coder. You have to figure out a workflow so that you can make very, very reliable changes in a database and send it back to your developers, right? That is the bar that we are going for. Okay. So this is basically setting up GitHub, creating your first repo. And I would say, like, don't create your first repo. Just go to this link and just clone it or fork it, right? You can clone it. Clone means you can pull it on your system. This is a public thing. Or you can fork it, which is you can pull it into your GitHub. Forking is basically just creating a branch of this into, and you are the owner of that branch. And you can make changes there, right? So you can either clone it or fork it, and you can make changes there. Set up the Claude code, and then start running these things, right? And there are, like, it might feel like the name, actually, the positioning is such that we feel that coding is what Claude Code does. But the thing is, Claude Code can do a lot of things. It can build a landing page, of course, but it can also build your product metrics dashboard, or user feedback analyzer, or Slack to database integration. It can also do integration of different tools. And this integration is something that PMs actually need. Now, the question you might be having is, Deepak, what is the difference between user feedback analyzer and, let's say, what I'm already doing in Claude Chat? So Claude Chat can do what Claude Code does differently when it comes to executing tasks is, most of the times it will try to write a script and run it. Write a script and run it. Now, this is almost like you wrote a code for doing something and you are running that code, as compared to doing natural language processing. And depending on the use case, code could be a preferred method, because code is very, very reliable as compared to, code is very deterministic as compared to natural language processing, in which case it can give you different output at different moments. But when it comes to code will give you very, very predictable outputs most of the time, right? So wherever you need to build more reliable things, I would say, like, start using Claude Code as compared to, like, using Chat for it. right? Final slide, which is Git commands that you need to know, is all about like, this is like 95% of what you need to know. One is Git add, right? And this is basically, think of it like basically all the edits that you want to add into Git. Commit is creating a version, right? So commit goes with a message. When you're committing something, it is a message. And in the message, you can write, I made these changes. I removed all tier 3, tier 4, tier 5 thing. And it will save that version with this information so that you know what this version was all about, right? Push is all of your commits get to, let's say, GitHub, and they get into the cloud. Pull means you download the latest changes. So suppose tomorrow I change something in my core skill file, and you're like, Deepak has changed something here. So let me pull this on my system and let me merge it with my existing thing. And then finally, there is git clone, which is what we did, which is we are cloning the entire repository on your machine. So this is more or less what Git does. Again, like I said, Git is also something that I started using maybe like a month back. And you will see like, what, 175 contributions already this year. So it's an extremely like, it's not, I would say like, it's not that difficult to do. You also don't need to, remember, and you should not have that notion, I know everything about Git and all, because LLM is there to help you. So you don't need to remember. You need to understand what you are doing really, really well, because if you don't understand it, you're going to make a lot of mistakes, and those mistakes are going to cost you, right? So this is broadly what the session was all about. Now what I do, a customary thing I do is basically rating the overall session. So you can rate the overall session and share me where you struggled, right? So specifically, I'm not looking for, feature suggestions or improvement, more like where did you struggle? Because the goal of this entire series is to make sure that you can easily understand all the topics that we cover. And then you can also start becoming very AI fluent in your job. So we have 60, 70 polls. I'll pause for like 30 seconds and then I'll start with Q&A. So the access for this will be on, like we will upload this on YouTube also, and we'll upload this on pmcurve also. I think the first session will get uploaded on YouTube as well. The slides will be available in the pmcurve portal, right? So pmcurve portal, I think because we have built it with where we can upload a video and we can upload slides, which is why we are using portal. YouTube will have the video. When will be the second session? Mostly next week, same time. But timing is something that we will keep changing. So please forgive me for that, because I have a full-time job as well. In fact, I have 2 full-time jobs now because we are working on something new. And of course, pmcurve is another full-time job. So poll is done. Let me go into the Q&A. When I use AI, I definitely feel my output quality has improved, but the real challenge is the time I put into iterating to get to the perfection. Hence, it does not feel like AI is accelerating my work yet, but definitely improving my work. Am I doing it right? What can I do better? So really good question, actually. This is a feeling that happens to a lot of people who just start using AI extensively. And part of the reason is AI takes your output from 50% to 80%. So the main thing about using AI is, when do you use AI? If you start using AI at 20%, you're going to lose a lot of time. So you have to get your thought process and everything to 50%. The 50%, which is the core, and then you have to give it to AI and it will take it to 80%. Anybody who's trying to get from that 80 to 95% will lose a lot of time and energy. Anybody who is trying to go from 20% to 80% will lose a lot of time and energy, not to mention it will hallucinate like anything. Like the output could be totally garbage. So AI works best between, let's say, 50% to 80%. And again, please, it's not very defined 50-80, but I'm saying there's a bracket, sweet bracket, below which AI is suboptimal and above which AI is suboptimal. So I hope that answers the question. If not, you can open the mic and ask Karthik. Okay. How do you create agents which serves your particular use case and then share those across the org? Again, I don't know the question behind the question. So I'll try to rephrase this question, right? So how do you create agents which serve for your particular use case and then share this across the org is also coming from the particular thing about AI fluency, right? Where we said level 3 is where you can create agents. Level 5 is when you start creating impact on your org. Is that correct understanding?
Somewhat, Deepak, yes. So basically, let's say if I'm doing something and my org is into, let's say, optimizing the overall operations streamline, right? Now, this particular framework is used by across many teams. Now, I've created a whole framework for that, and I now want these to be deployed as an agent, and so that other teams can also use this. What I've used it. So wanted to understand how can I create this so that what I have done can be used by many people across the org. Somewhat like that.
Yeah, got it. And these many people across the org are not at the same skill level when it comes to,
Yep.
right? So see, this is again, this is where, by the way, these AI chat bots are really good. So first of all, like you should discuss this with Claude.
Yep.
The second is there is no hard and fast, like I wouldn't say I have a great answer to this because this varies with context. You go to Flipkart, you'll have a very different process of this. And you can just follow the process and you can make sure that everybody gets it. Like you'll be conducting a webinar, people can go through the webinar will go to LMS and all that. The second is in some organizations, startups I've worked in, they create a documentation, which is like, this is a step-by-step process to follow in order to use this agent. Most of the times, I would say when you're building the agent, make it dumb proof. There is, so if you can use an agent, that could be because you have built it. And this is a difference between level 3 and level 5. Level 5 is where you start understanding the nuances of what can go wrong when somebody else is using it. So democratizing AI requires you to put those guardrails into the agent so that bad output never comes out, even if there is a bad input or even if there is a bad orchestration.
Got it.
So I would say spend a lot of time on where things can go wrong and guardrail those into this agent design, and then create a step-by-step document using AI and just share that with people. In fact, create a video using AI and share that with people. Screenshots really help and all. So anyway, but those are the parts you already know. So I'm not focusing on that.
Yep. Good.
How is this different from the courses you have on AI product management? So again, we already covered this extensively, so I'm not going to take this question, ST. So please go through the initial part. I think it's extensively covered. How do you manage to hold and still keep it up with AI updates? That itself is like another. So see, I'm lucky that pmcurve requires me, like my pmcurve requires me, the AI product management course I run requires me to stay updated, right? So it's part of the job. But recently I've also been feeling that even if like you're in some traditional job and all, this year I have a feeling that you cannot ignore AI anymore. Like it's mandatory for you to do it for yourself, do it for company. Like it's not, it's not an option anymore because your competitors are catching up. And if you want your company to survive, if you want your career to succeed and all, I would suggest like make it a part of your job. Maybe like this is a year where I would advocate people to work Saturdays. I had this mental model in my life that there are periods of my life, my career, where I'm willing to work Saturdays. I would say this is that year for a lot of people. And I don't have any interest in, propagating, work Saturdays and all. But I'm saying if the time calls for it, why not? Like if your next 15 years depend on this 1 year, why not? Right? So please do that. And link for the research. Do you think we, or especially developers or tech people, are moving towards creating systems that are removing those same people who are building them, leading to a lot of job reductions in coming future? Yes and no. So of course, like we are building these things which will remove us from certain types of jobs. For example, this is a very clear stat that gets shared across, like some 98% or 90% of US population was engaged, or global population 100 years back was engaged in agriculture, and then tractors came and all these innovations came. And that has reduced to 2%, right? So people are not employed in agriculture anymore. Does not mean that we are not in a much better place. Like the luxury that, let's say, most people are enjoying right now is something that was unforeseeable 100 years back or 200 years back in terms of medical research and everything. So if you look at that, look at from a macro lens of like whether it will better our life or not, the answer is of course yes. Will it create a short-term pain for you? And which is what humans are always, focused on, right? To be honest, it will create a short-term pain for you, but the jobs are not going to go away, because there is also, like, software is not very limited. The appetite for software is not limited. A lot of industries could never build software because they didn't have 200K to pay a developer, or they didn't have 500K to employ a developer. Now all of those industries can actually build and use software. A lot of new use cases are opening in AI automations in manufacturing, robotics, and all that. Robotics, you remember, it was not a big field. So a lot of R&D budget and everything will go into that. And that will open up a lot of opportunities. So the point is, skills of the trade are changing, which is why I think this is an interesting year, because this is where we are going to see some inflection point on what is expected from your job and what is not expected from your job. Okay. So please don't think, we are replacing ourselves. It's more like humanity moves forward based on the innovations of previous generation. Our next generations are going to benefit a lot from it. We are going to benefit a lot from it. The only thing that we have to do is we don't have to be very, very passive. We have to be active in the ecosystem. We have to build AI products. We have to learn about AI. We have to use it. We have to create business opportunities and all that. The displacement is a real risk. Like if you stay passive, I think the displacement will happen, because somebody who is smarter, better, faster will come and take away those jobs. I feel like by the time we complete 12 sessions, the entire workflow would have changed, given the pace at which the things are moving. Actually, I understand that feeling, but let me tell you, last year, if I look at 2025, which was such a great year, not more than 2 or 3 remarkable changes happened. So while it feels like, things are changing very fast, the foundations are the same. Like if you learn those foundations, you can make sense of everything. Like context engineering was nothing but something. Like context engineering is not even it was propagated as something new, but it is not new. It's system design. If you understand system design, if you understand RAG, context engineering is a 2 minutes explanation and like mental model in your mind. So a lot of things that you're seeing, actually, like not a lot of things are changing. It's just that you stay on places where there is a lot of noise. People have this incentive to make it, this new thing that you don't know, this is going to change the world. We keep hearing this after every model launch. So if you ask me, I've been tracking this field for the last 3 years, and I've been building AI products for the last 10 years, much before like AI became a buzzword. And I'm telling you, not much is changing actually. Like OpenClaw has been a remarkable thing in Q1. And that's something that we'll be covering. But besides OpenClaw, there is nothing that has happened. Last quarter of 2025, Opus 4.6. Quarter before that, nothing. So remarkable changes only happen once or twice or thrice a year or once a quarter maybe. So it won't change. I promise you it won't change. You can hold me accountable. And if it does, if one thing does changes, we'll cover that one thing anyway. Let me pick some questions because there are too many questions. AI fluency is valuable in one's work, but not valued on CV. Could you suggest how to go about creating this differentiation? Yeah, so AI fluency, if you want to show AI fluency, the idea is like you should vibe code and build some projects. You should show it on your GitHub. Be a GitHub PM for all. It matters, right? Because that's the best way to show that you are AI fluent and ahead of the curve. Running. The focus topics of each week, you can go to ai.pmcurve.com. It's listed there. That might change, but broadly, like we'll be covering those topics. ai.pmcurve.com. Agentic workflows, right? Please be tool agnostic. We'll be covering like why you should be, PM should be tool agnostic, but please be tool agnostic. And in Gumloop, Relay, like it does not matter. Gumloop is really simple. Relay is also simple. Like you can use those. But most of the times, if you're building workflows for yourself, build it in like Claude Cowork or Claude Code. Why do you need to go after such heavy tools? Okay. So there's this interesting question. I don't know what it means. What were we actually trying to copy by copying the command line? If you can help understand in large perspective. Rishika, I don't understand the question behind the question. If you could help me understand, I would be happy to answer this question. Or if somebody
Deepak,
else this. Yeah.
Hi, Deepak, Rishika here.
Hi.
I actually come from a very non-technical background, so a lot of word like repo, which means repository, and I understand now, but it all jiggles in my mind when you were speaking. So I was not able to relate to the topic that when you were copying the command line, I don't know what command line is also. So I was just, but now I understand by the session. I read the comments and everything, so by that I understood. But I was little jiggling in my mind, understanding what were you trying to do after copying the command line. So if you can just if you give me a perspective, I think everything you showed in the video, I'll just relate to everything.
Got it. So think of it like this, right? The first thing is the first step is you take some GitHub project which is public and you bring it to your system, right?
Okay.
I was trying to bring that project to my system, which is to my laptop.
Okay.
By just using that command line.
Yes.
Now that command line didn't work because I didn't have certain things installed on my computer.
Yes.
And that is fine. So I went to Claude Code and I
Yeah.
said, I'm getting this error and I want to clone this on my system. Can you help me with this?
Okay.
So then it gave me exact command to clone that. So I just copied, pasted it in command line and I'm done, right? So the idea was to bring that project from cloud, GitHub Cloud, somebody else's project, right? This was mine, but you can just go to product skills that I have built. You can try to copy that on your system. You can modify that using Claude Code, and then you can push it on your own GitHub account.
Okay.
So now you have your own project of product skills.
Nice.
Your own
Can you
custom.
share your
It will be in the PPT. Don't worry, right? Just go into the PPT.
Okay.
Share here, but it will get lost mostly, right? So just go to the PPT and it will be there. Yeah.
Okay.
Does
Yeah,
it make sense now? 3 steps.
It brings everything.
Yeah, 3 steps. Bring it on your system because it's not your repository, right?
Correct.
So you bring that into your
Yes.
system, local. You do some work on it, and you push it on your own account and make it your own project.
Yes.
3
Got it.
steps. Yeah,
Thank you.
sure. Did I miss any question, folks? You can open mic and ask. There are questions around freshwater resources of AI going to cause environmental hazard. See, it does not pertain to this session, but I believe that PMs are supposed to be AI advocates. So I'm going to answer this question. The honest answer is it causing environmental hazard? Yes. The same way vehicles are causing environmental hazard. If we keep moving at the same pace, mathematically, will it lead to a lot of problems? Of course, it will lead to a lot of problems. So then the question becomes, will it move at the same pace? And suppose the answer is yes. What is going to be my answer to that question? In my mind, I believe humans are very innovative. We are short-term focused. That's a bug. But our feature is we are very innovative when we actually feel the pain. And technology is a solution to all of things that we have faced pain around. Like we were not very able predator, right? Like in our evolution cycle, we were like a lot of wild animals are much stronger than us. So we learned how to communicate. We learned how to build houses. Building house is a technology. Writing on paper is a technology. Building weapon using fire is the biggest technology of humankind. So point is we innovate and solve problems. So my belief is if it is going to create a problem, a real problem, there is a good chance we are going to solve it by innovating new technologies. That much belief I have. That's the belief you have to operate with if you're a techno optimist. Can you tell me about where we can start? From which pricing tier of Claude code? I'm not sure if even in free version it should be available. But if you're starting, start with $20. Like there is no Claude code tier. You have Claude subscription, you'll have Claude code for included in that subscription. So Cover, Claude code, and all of that comes into $20.
For free, I think Codex works better. Claude does not have a free tier for code. Codex does have a free tier for coding. So currently, I'm building prototypes using that Codex itself.
Please
And if
use
it
it.
works,
Codex also is really good AI, like coding agent.
it has given me somewhere around 2.5 lakh tokens per week. And it's working
Wow,
good.
amazing. Last I'll take is leveraging AI to make some basic engineering features applications enough when it has so much potential even for a hardcore engineer. But then focusing on core PM skills like user research and strategy, then it's not all PMs do every day unless it's some leadership roles. So how to pick the focus area? It's a really good existential question, right? And thank you for asking that. So see, like I said, the skill stack is changing in the sense that if you have a really good engineer, let me take this analogy. If you have a really good opener and it's batting pitch, will you let them open or not? And the answer is, of course, you'll let them open, right? It's a batting pitch, really good Virendra Sehwag, you let them open. If it's a really difficult pitch for first 10 overs and you have a really good batsman, what do? You send them after 10 overs or before 10 overs? And the answer to that is it depends. If you're in a test match, last 10 overs, you never send your best batsman. You send a night watchman. But if it is a place where normal batsmen will not survive at all, you send your best batsman. If it is a place where the runs will be lesser, but the batting order will survive, you send them after 10 overs because that is where they can bat. Jobs are like that. If you have a really good engineer, do you really want them to build landing pages? Because, and by the way, you are a really good PM, and you might be asking, Deepak, but I'm a really good PM. Do I really need to build landing pages? And my answer to that is, you are the source of inspiration of that landing page. And there is a communication hurdle that needs to be done when you communicate this to a developer. Why don't you communicate that to Claude Code and let it build it for you? Treat Claude Code like a junior engineer you have, rather than you thinking as a PM, I am, doing engineering job. You have a junior engineer in your pocket and it just charges you $20 per month. How cool is that? So my point is, treat it like a junior engineer, and then you have a senior engineer in your team. Let them do great work. Let them do like really good work. Let them focus on the thorny problems like latency, reliability, and everything. And you do all this work because all you're doing is anything that requires spec-driven development and can be done through spec-driven development very, very quickly. Why would you waste your org resources on that? Because somebody else is not going to, and that somebody else is going to, pardon my expression, kick your in a competitive area, right? So my point is, you have a junior engineer, you have a junior intern, and you have a thinking partner, like your friend, who, of course, your friends hallucinate, right? Isn't it? Like, we all have friends who have given us wrong advice at wrong times. Claude is no different. So if somebody is saying the humans are better at advice than Claude, yeah, I would say like, yeah, you don't have enough friends. But the point is, I'm thinking you have all this thinking partner, your junior intern to do grunt work, and you have your this developer, junior developer. You are a lot more capable as a PM now. You can do research, you can talk to users, something that 90% of PMs in India don't do. Sorry to say that, but I have like hundreds of PMs data points, and I know that 90% of PMs don't even go and talk to customers once a month or twice a month. You could have time for that. You could have time to conduct research at scale. You could build an agent that crunches your number, maps it with the research. You now finally have time to read all the leading reports on industry and understand them. You have finally the time to understand strategy and all that. I'm saying the sky is the limit. Like, in fact, one of my favorite PMs in this ecosystem is Anshumani Rudra. And I've not worked with him, but I have had conversations with him, really good, enlightening conversations. And he keeps saying that good PMs, they have this tendency to free up their work, free up their time by figuring out ways to automate their work. So you give a really good PM some work, in 2 months, they will come back and say, I have 4 hours free. Give me something else. And then 2 months after that, they're like, yeah, I'm managing these 2 projects, but give me something else. I'm saying that attitude will help a lot. That agency will help a lot when it comes to AI. So please use that. But yeah, I don't want to belabor the point. I think you folks get the point. Okay. Cool. So yeah, that would be all for folks. I normally